by and being a part of this.
Of course. Happy to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Well, thank you for coming on. Can you give me some background of you as a musician? Tell me where you started. What brought you in to being a musician in the first place, and what instruments kind of got you going?
Yes. My dad, to go all the way back, my dad used to play me music as I would fall asleep as a kid. And one of the first things I remember him playing was that Eric Clapton Unplugged record. And I loved Eric Clapton. And that made me want to play guitar, which I was probably 6 or 7-ish. And so he rented me a classical guitar. And my mom taught me like a little piano before that, but piano wasn't cool. I figured if I played guitar, girls would like me. And that's how it started. I was really into like was a big Clapton nut early on, like read his biographies and loved Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs was my jam. And yeah, Derek and the Dominoes. And then from there, got really into Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix and Beatles were like huge. And then when I started writing songs, I went through a big Billy Joel and Elton John phase. And then college, got into jazz, like Wes Montgomery, Schofield, Metheny, Rosenwinkel. That was like high school and into college. Went to USC for studio jazz guitar and started touring after that.
Wow. So where are you from originally?
I was born in LA. And then when I was 8, my family moved up to Marin County.
Oh, okay.
So I moved back down LA for college.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So you've had quite an experience touring. Can you list some of the people that you've worked with over the years?
Yeah. The first touring I did was I had an organ trio in college with Lewis Cole was my roommate, and Andrew Carroll was our friend that played organ. And so we did 2 tours. We did 2 tours in college that we booked ourselves. Both were with Jack Conte, who's my partner in Scary Pockets. Mm-hmm. And so the first tour was like our organ trio. And then Jack was doing this incredible solo thing where he had like a million devices rigged up and he was like live looping. And then the second tour we did, we just became Jack's band. So we were just playing with him, playing his music. Both those were like, 2 of like some of the best memories of my life. And then while I was still in school, my first real tour where I actually got paid was playing with Joshua Radin and Vanessa Carlton. And she was opening and I'd play guitar with her, and then I would play guitar in Josh's band. And then immediately after college, I started playing with this band, A Fine Frenzy. And I did that. That was the first time I started playing bass, some bass talk for Bass Magazine. Because basically I did the audition on guitar. She liked me and another guitar player, none of the bass players. So she said, "Can you guys just trade off playing bass?" So I remember it being like it felt like a sort of existential crisis because I was so my identity was so tied to being a guitar player that the idea of like having to compromise and sink down to the level of a bass player for half the songs it felt like
torture.
I was like, I got to think about this. I don't know. I got to think about this. But anyways, I said yes. And so me and my friend Omar Velasco, who's in this band Amo now. I don't know if people know that, but we traded off playing the bass, but I was reluctant. I was like, all right, I'll play the bass for a couple songs. And then the next call that I got after that was I did that for like 2 years. And the next call I got after that was from Ben Folds. And he said, my bass player doesn't want to tour anymore. Do you want to come play bass for me? And that came about because Ben and Jack Conti actually spoke at a panel together on some music tech conference, and they ended up doing a song together. Ben originally asked Jack if he wanted to come tour with him. Jack was doing his own thing and said no. And Jack called me and said, if he asked me to play bass, like you could play bass, because Jack didn't play bass either. So basically had a call with Ben. He seemed awesome. And I hadn't been like a huge fan of the music at that point, but I did, when I got the call, I did like a bit of a deep dive, said, hell yeah, I'll do it. And yeah, I actually had to, before that, I didn't actually own a bass. I was just using one that a friend had for the frenzy thing. So went to Guitar Center, bought like a bass and a bass amp, and I literally transcribed every single note off every single Ben Folds and Ben Folds 5 recording, and just memorized, like literally I could play any bass line note for note from any of the records, because I didn't have like the intuition. I wasn't like a bass player yet, so I didn't have the intuition to just like write down the chords and do my thing. I just figured, okay, if I can play every song the way it sounds on the record, it's going to be harder for him to fire me when he realizes that I don't actually play.
That's great.
So did that for a couple of years, and then I put out a couple of records of my own, and then started playing with Michael Bublé. I was playing guitar and keys and singing and playing percussion. And then what happened next? John Legend. I was his music director, and we did a tour that was just me and him with a string quartet, which was one of the coolest experiences of my life. And I got to do all the string arranging. Wow. And we just did, it was long as shit. It was like a 4.5 month tour. That was like performing arts centers across the country. And then that was right when his song All of Me hit. So we went from playing these performing arts centers with like 1,000 to 3,000 people, straight to like American Idol and arenas and like stadiums and whatnot, full band, etc. So did that for a while, and then kind of was home for a minute, reevaluating my life. I met the guys from Wolfpack, and we started collaborating. And then Pockets, I guess somewhere in there I did Tallest Man on Earth, also playing bass. If people know who that is, he's this amazing. Do you know Tallest Man on Earth?
I do.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's like one of the best performers I've seen and the nicest human being. And then Pockets started after that, and while Pockets was happening, I was doing music directing for Darren Criss and Leah Michelle, and touring with them a little bit. But mainly the last like 4 years or so has just been the phasing out of the other stuff and just increasing amount of Scary Pockets.
Yeah, it's amazing in your story. I loved how the people that you met in college, and it's so true, somehow find their way back into your life. Like even with touring, they just circle back in like periodically.
Totally.
And that's like with your story with Jack Conti, who is your partner with Scary Pockets.
Yeah.
But I also love how like you went to school for jazz, and and you can hear it in the Pockets. Like, are you doing the arranging? Like, how is that working out? Like, because when I hear the Pockets, it's like I'm always excited to see where you're going to go with it. It's always totally. Like, where are you going to go?
Totally. Yeah. Jack and I actually met one step better than that. We met in high school.
Wow.
So I went to this I went to high school in Marin County, this school called Branson, and it's kind of a small private school. And when you go in as a freshman, they link you up with a senior, and that's like your senior buddy that's supposed to show you the ropes. And so Jack was my senior buddy, and I got a voicemail from Jack introducing himself, saying like, "Hey, if you want to go play miniature golf, I'll pick you up." And that's how we met. I was this terrified, nerdy, anxious kid, and Jack was like the cool senior guy who was like Mr. Popular, and like he did was in all the plays and like the senior combo and like head of acapella. So wow. Yeah, so that's how we met.
Those relationships are amazing though. Like just this, how fertile they are, and the ideas that blossom out of them are amazing, because it seems unique. However, almost every interview I've done, there's been somebody that has either a relationship, a friendship of somebody that they had either in high school or that they met somewhere along the way. I play with a buddy of mine from college that I met years ago at Temple University, and we still play together. And that's like years later. It just happens that way.
Totally. Yeah. That's what people ask me like how I liked music school. And to me, that's the most valuable thing. It's like the people that you meet there are going to be hopefully the friends for the rest of your life. And those are going to be the people that get you work. So that's kind of the foundation of your network a lot of the time.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Because I think a lot of our readers, networking is hard, especially right now, with COVID, it's hard. Everybody I know is like, they're not gigging.
Right.
And that was always the thing that I found really interesting, especially about the Pockets, is you guys went in the studio, and it was the studio thing that you were putting together. And it was an episode. There was a new episode coming out. And it was like this amazing thing. The way that you filmed it, initially, it was just one camera pointing at the room.
Yeah.
And I think was it Sam Wilkes on bass?
Yeah.
Is that, the head bobbing.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah. That dude is
sandals guy.
Funky.
Yeah.
That dude is funky.
Oh yeah. He's the best. He's the best. But
you guys were kind of doing that before it was a thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm aware that I evaded your last question about arranging, but I'll try to answer both. So our sort of model, I mean, in terms of like just setting up a tripod and capturing a live performance, was like PMJ. The references were sort of like PMJ meets Wolfpack, because Wolf was just throwing up a camera, setting up in like a living room, and there was something that was so accessible and awesome. And also Theo Katzman, Theo had a video of him playing the song Hard Work in like the attic of the house that he was living in. It was a similar thing, like just a fisheye lens. Rob Humphreys was playing drums. I think Joe Dart was playing bass. And it was so engaging, but it was just like a thing on a tripod. And PMJ was getting away with the same thing, and they still are, which is just tripod, which lets kind of the viewer choose where to look. And yeah, I mean, that whole thing kind of harkens back to, I know it wasn't a tripod, but one of my favorite live performances of all time and videos of all time is Kissing My Love, that Bill Withers performance with Gadsden. I think it was like on a German TV show or something, but it's on YouTube. And that it's something about that is so much more engaging than even like the live or the recorded version of that song. So yeah, there's I talk about that with Jack Stratton all the time, that there's something in that, you know what I mean? The capturing of a take and all its imperfection.
Well, it connects with the listener. And I think that's a big thing. I know for me, like when I brought that to rehearsal, I remember like I said, the first video I saw from you guys was Creep back in the day. And I was like, oh my God, I showed that to my singer. I was like, we need to do it like this.
Oh, cool.
and then you guys did, I didn't think this was possible, but you did a funkier version of Kiss than Prince. I was like,
oh shit.
How was that even possible?
A lofty claim. I'm sure.
I know.
Sure, people will take offense to that, and
I'm sorry.
no,
It's
no.
funky though. That bass line on that is killer.
I know, man. Joe Ayub. Have you talked to him yet?
Not yet. I'd love to.
Oh my God, I'll connect you guys. He's next level. He's so good. But as for the arranging process, um, yeah, it's born out of so the my first sort of experience with this type of recording was with Wolfpack. Uh, they Jack wanted to do a version of my song, which was called "Do With You," in which he so boldly retitled "Baby I Don't Know Oh or something. Uh, and so we got into a room and just like nobody had prepared anything. Charles Jones is playing piano, and we spent so little time on it, played it through, maybe stumbled through like once or twice, and then we did takes. We did like maybe 2 or 3 takes. I don't really remember, and that was it. And and um and it was so fun and so good, and there's so much magic there to be captured that to me was the first time I sort of realized like, oh, like so much of what my personal sort of ethos and outlook on life until that point had been wrapped up in like working as hard as possible, like with my music. And when I like did stuff for other people, my sort of personal feeling was like, well, I'm not like that. There's plenty of people that are more talented than me, so I'm going to work as hard as I have to work in order to do this as good as it can possibly be done. And what ended up coming to pass with Wolf and Pockets is the exact opposite of that. It's like no preparation, show up, have fun, and put it out, and don't think too hard about it. And so that is what we do with Pockets. There's literally, I used to not tell anyone what songs we were doing until we got there.
Yeah, Tim said that.
Yeah.
He said you never know.
I'm sure he appreciated that. But just to make it like less intense for the musicians also, it's like no prep necessary, just show up and we'll figure it out. And so we listened to the song like once or twice. Somebody would start playing something, an idea, or like, what if we did it like this? We would try to make it as different as possible from the original. Mm-hmm. And we would arrange in the room together, everybody sort of weighing in on everybody else's parts, like super collaborative, best idea wins, no ego type stuff. And we used to do we used to do 2 songs a day and do 2 days a month. And then so we'd spend about 3 hours on each song. And we'd do, 4, 5, 6, 7 takes, whatever it took. Mm-hmm. And then we would listen back and we'd choose one. Mm-hmm. And then when Creep kind of took off, there was no real arrangement. I mean, that was like Lamar playing the groove of talking loud, saying nothing, I think.
Yeah.
And we played the same chords, which we didn't even change. Like we used the original chords. And like Jack and I typically, like when we arrange, we try to not play at the same time. We try to make our parts kind of do this, which forces me to listen to what Jack is doing so that I know not to be on top of him and vice versa. But that song the arrangement does not change. It's just this, and it gets louder and then it gets quieter. And that sort of caught on, and we realized like, oh, we don't, there's nothing to this. Like, we don't need to beat our heads against the wall trying to come up with these like really intricate arrangements with all these hits and like clever things here and there. Like, and so basically after that, we started doing 4 songs in a day instead of 2 songs in a day, and doing every song in 90 minutes and not overthinking anything. We would find something that felt good that we could remember. And same thing, arrange it in the room together, do way less takes. We do like, 3 takes, 4 takes.
Yeah, it's
Until,
almost like you're going back to like the band days, right? Like that's what
yeah,
you did, like you got in the garage. And it
exactly.
seems so organic. Like when you guys get together, it's like I feel like I'm watching, the band come together and practice. And it's like it
Right.
just comes together and you have just this great vibe and things always come together well. It's like, and I love how you said like you're not doing all the hits because like I always think of like the other end of the spectrum is like Dirty Loops, which was
Yeah,
like everything was worked
exactly.
out and like all the parts and like all these
Yeah.
harmonies. And you're like, that's great and it's very cool. But you have the other side of the spectrum too, which it just grooves, and it feels good. And
Yeah.
it's like you guys have like I love what you guys are doing.
Oh, thanks.
I hate to
That's
gush.
an interesting comparison. It is pretty opposite end of the spectrum from Dirty Loops. These guys can play.
Oh yeah, they're hard. They're definitely great musicians.
Yeah.
Everybody, the guys that you have are incredible musicians. The guys that you have in are like you have some amazing talent that comes through.
Totally.
And like from was it Bob Golding's?
Larry Goldings.
Larry, sorry,
Yeah.
Larry Goldings. That's right, Larry
Yeah.
Goldings on keys. I mean that dude
Oh my
shredding.
God. One of my favorite musicians on the planet. She's the best.
Hey, he's amazing.
Yeah.
And like I said, Sam was kind of like he was part of in the initial videos, he was always the bass player, but
Yeah.
you guys started going through and pulling in different bass players. Like I know I saw you had Tim on there. You've had the dude from the Kiss that was in the print. Yeah, that dude is like you have some amazing players that are just.
Oh yeah.
How do you decide who you're going to bring in? Like
there's an embarrassment of riches in terms of bass players in Los Angeles. It's literally like there's so many people that I just feel like are my favorite bass players in the world. And they're all unique somehow. They all have like a unique voice and energy. And we're so spoiled that we get to play with a lot of them. And so basically, yeah, this project kind of grew out of my experience like touring with so many bands and meeting people that way and just around town in LA. And then the experience kind of being a MD, music director, and having to put together bands for a specific project. So in some ways, it sort of started as like I kind of thought about it as like, okay, I'm MDing for Jack, like for me and Jack, and like, okay, who do I think is going to jive well with like Jack's energy? And so Sam, I'd first met Sam a long time ago. He was playing bass with Rozzy Crane, and he just like his energy, just like an enthusiasm. I saw him at the Viper Room, and I was like, who the hell is playing bass? And I met him that night, and he was Sam and just as funky. So yeah, he seemed like the best compliment to sort of Jack's energy from the get-go. And so that's sort of like the fun thing for me in this project is getting to like work with so many people that I just love the shit out of genuinely and love making music with, but then also being like, okay, who doesn't know, like 2 questions, either like who knows each other well and like would love playing together, like Danny McKay or Daniel Aged. I don't know if you know him, but he's currently we went to college together, and he's currently MDing for Frank Ocean.
okay.
But he's like been one of my closest friends since college days, and he used to play bass with Raphael Sadiq.
Oh yeah.
So I saw him playing with Lamar Carter, who's done a bunch of stuff with us. So that is a fun approach of like putting people together that have played a lot together. And then the other fun approach is like people that don't know each other that I think would love each other, putting that together. And then in relation to like this, if I know I have this type of singer coming in or this specific singer coming in, bringing together people that are going to complement them, or it's just like a lot of mixing and matching of energies and personalities and playing in order to just like make new bands that I feel like would be fun to play with.
That's awesome. So do you now here, because I know you say you don't tell people the songs before they come in, but
we do now.
Okay.
So for a long time, I didn't.
So do you think of a song and then you think of the players that you want to put on it, or okay.
Players first, or sometimes singers first.
Okay.
And then I'll tell the singers, it started out at the outset, we were trying to do only top 10. So for like the first couple of sessions, we were literally just looking at like the top 10 songs on iTunes or Spotify or whatever. And we would just choose 4. And most of the time we'd never heard them before. So like, if you look at early Pocket songs, there's some, I know we did like Creep and What a Girl Wants, but we were trying to do like top 10 songs. It's just sometimes the singers wouldn't want to do that. So, and then I'd just say, okay, whatever you want to sing.
Nice.
But now what I tell singers, we try to do songs that everybody knows just from the title, like that your mom would know and also your best friend would know, that aren't already funky, so that we can make them like as different as possible from the original. And then I'll just have the singer like spitball 4 or 5 ideas, and then I kind of like think through the ideas, and I can like if an idea comes to mind of like, okay, this will work well, we can do something. I know this is going to kind of work. Then we'll hop on that, or I'll then suggest songs back, and we just go back and forth until we both get something we're excited about.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know, like, you kind of started in the studio, but then you went on tour.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, that was a big thing. Like, you guys did a huge promotion behind that. It was like, the tour was coming. And it's like, how do you pick then the musicians that you're going to bring with you on the tour when it's like, it's so unique?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is a good question. Well, I think I just started out by at the time, like it was just me groveling to my friends that I love, just I picked a band in my head that I thought would be a good fit for that type of thing, and me going to them being like, okay, I know we can't pay you what you're used to making or what you should be making, but would you be willing to do this? and yeah, we got I think most of the touring we've done has been with Nick Campbell and Rob Humphreys, and then the singers tend to like change and rotate depending upon who's available. But yeah, I try to kind of pick singers that have done a good amount of songs with us before, so that they can sing a lot of their own songs that they originally sung. And then people that I just love being with, and that I think they have good attitudes and like are down to clown. And we have like, the biggest thing is the whole project is just like, it's all just built around fun and like facilitating fun. Like, how can we have the most fun?
It must be, I've worked with a female vocalist who we did a lot of songs that were male keys too. So we had everything you had to change the key.
Right.
So you had transpose. So I'm sure for you guys on tour, when you had different singers coming in different keys, that must have been a good time, because that's like on the spot. You're like, okay, well, let's rehearse, we got to do this.
Well, we do rehearse when we've done tours. So we we do have that opportunity to switch keys around to whatever suits the singer best.
So you weren't doing the Bo Diddley thing. You'd pull up to the town and go, okay, who's the guys that are here? Let's get them in.
Exactly. No. Yeah, we figure out keys beforehand.
That's great. It makes it a little easier, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's incredible. So what's in the future? Because right now the touring scene is nil. It's not very good at this moment. Do you see you going back on the road anytime soon? Is there any plan?
Yeah. We're looking at next year at the moment, or like spring or uh spring 20, what is that, 2022?
True.
But I mean, things are, I don't know how it is over there, but it kind of seems like things are moving along more quickly than people expected here in LA. So who knows? I mean, I'm ready to play. I'm ready to play.
Me too.
So yeah. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully we're all able to be in rooms together and be in big crowds together sooner than previously expected.
Speaking of big rooms, you've been the last couple of Scary Pockets videos that you guys put on were on the roof. Um,
Oh
and
yeah.
and that last video of harder, was it harder, better, faster? You guys
Yeah.
did death. Oh my God, that is incredible. I love that. You
Bodies,
guys
man.
killed that. It is
Yeah.
so
Thanks.
good. With it, now, can I ask a question about that, just for my own? I
Yeah,
mean,
of course. Of
so
course.
because you had the orchestra, you had all the horn parts, but they were in a different location. How did you
Yes,
arrange
this is a
that?
funny story. This is a funny story. Um, so we basically got an email from the person running that big band, which is they're in Frankfurt, um, offering saying like if you guys ever want a big band on anything, like we would love to collaborate. And I just kind of looked at what was in the pipeline, like what had just we'd already recorded that,
Mhm.
and the arrangement just happened to have like a lot of space in it. Um, and so I sent it to Jacob Mann, who did the arrangement. And Jacob had actually arranged for that big band with another project, maybe
Oh
you know
wow.
her or something. So Jacob wrote this incredible arrangement, and we sent them the track, and Jacob did the copying work, and we got it. It was like one of the easiest, most awesome collaborations ever because they're amazing, and they sent us back just like this pristinely recorded, pristinely videotaped arrangement on top of Swati's awesomeness. And it just sounds like we meant to do that. It sounds like we planned it, and it was just a happy accident. So
Oh, it was great.
yeah.
That's excellent. That was such a great piece, and it came out
Oh, nice.
super. I was inspired.
Shout out to Caleb Parker, who is our head of audio. Caleb has been with us for years and engineers and mixes almost everything that we do, and he mixed the crap out of that one.
That's awesome. Well, Ryan, I want to thank you so much for your time and hanging out with us today with Bass
Of
Musician
course,
Man.
Steve.
It was a pleasure getting to know you and to know your story and to really dive into the Pockets a little bit because I love the Pockets, but I've always felt like it was an enigma. Like, what is the
Yeah.
story behind it?
Well, maybe I've just made a huge mistake by spilling all our secrets, and we'll all be out of job soon.
I think what you guys are doing is incredible. I can't wait to see what's next.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. Next time I'm interviewing you, okay? I didn't get to ask you any questions.
Next time.